everyone, this is Renee from Metallark Mystic, and I am doing a VR that I saw on Kasia's channel, Tarot Map, a few months ago, I think now, and it was my most beautiful decks, and so I thought I would just do it. So the first deck is the Japaridze Tarot by Nina Japaridze, and this deck, yeah, I really feel like this is one of the most beautiful in my collection. So I just thought I would share that with you. I find the combination of paintings and collage that she does in this work really amazing. You can see some of it there. I often think of this card actually, sometimes, just in my everyday life. This is one of the reasons people don't like this card. This is the Emperor card, but she's renamed it War. I would say that's kind of the worst aspect of the Emperor, but I can see some of the collage and paint combination. Yeah, just a really beautiful, thoughtful, powerful deck. So sometimes the deck can be beautiful, but not a great reader. But for me, and this deck has been trimmed, just so you know, but for me, this deck, and I don't know if you can see the person right there. This deck is both beautiful, provocative, evocative, and an amazing reader. So I just had to put it in my most beautiful decks because I really love it so much, and I do find the artwork really beautiful, even though it has things like the Emperor card and the Moon card, and then it's got these clowns, and I really am not a big fan of clowns, but even saying all that, I still absolutely love it and think of it as one of my most beautiful decks. It's one of my favorite lovers cards ever. So that's the Japaridze. The next deck is new to my collection from last year, and it is the Telluric Tarot. And this is the little bag I made and the sticker that came with the deck. This deck is so beautiful, but it is quite glossy, so I'm hoping I hope I can get it in a way that shows it without the glare. It's crystals and plants, or yeah, plants, flowers, herbs. A lot of these crystals I've never heard of before. You know, obviously I know what turquoise is, but there are some that are new to me, and I'm slowly getting to know this deck. I love the artwork, and I really do like how she's combined the meanings of the tarot cards with the plant medicine, with the crystal. I think it took a lot of time and a lot of effort and thought on her part to really come up with that. And yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit forward so you can see like a different suit. But I mean, one of the reasons I got this deck is just because I find it so, so beautiful. She also has two other decks. She has a rune deck, and then she has, I think, Phoenician Oracle, which I think would be also very beautiful and very interesting. But I just really wanted to get this one. Belladonna. I love that. I love Teasel and Tiger's Eye. Okay, so that's the Telluric Tarot, and that is one of my most beautiful decks. It has really pretty gilding too. Although I'm not a big fan of gilding, it does give it that kind of extra bling. It comes in a box, a big box, which is nice, but I don't have the room for like really big boxes. Okay, my next most beautiful deck would be this one, the travel edition of the II Onyx. This deck is so beautiful. I definitely know why people have the large edition, because the art is really stunning. But I do like having the small one, because then I can have larger spreads. But this deck is luxurious in all aspects, from the gilding on the side, which is matte gold, to the gold foil on the cards, to the cardstock, to the vibrancy of the colors. It's really hard to get colors to pop this much when it's such a matte finish, and yet she did that. The artwork is incredibly powerful and also incredibly beautiful. And on top of all of that, it is a great reader. So it's kind of like the best of all worlds. I love how she did painting and collage. She incorporated so much feeling into these cards. And every time I work with them or look at them, I notice something more, something deeper that I didn't notice before. I do find this deck so beautiful. It really is a book of art with movable pages. And I really appreciate that so much. Look at that. Such a great Empress. Great Three of Swords. Hermit. Seven of Blades. Seven of Gourds. There's so much in these cards that it does take many times to really appreciate everything that's in them. Okay, that is the II Onyx Travel Edition. For another one of my most beautiful decks. The next deck I wanted to showcase is the Dreams of Gaia, which when it first came out, I could appreciate that the art was really good, but you know, it just really wasn't my art style. I guess I can't. Well, maybe I can do it there. But it totally grew on me. And now when I look at it, I think it's so beautiful. It really speaks to my inner child. It's fantastical, fairy tales. You know, I think of mermaids and just magical, mystical dragons, quests. There's just so much about this deck that enlivens me and speaks to my imagination and my willingness to look at the darker aspects of my personality and also things that I've lost and things that I've gained. It's a really good reader, but I can only pull a few cards at a time. And I definitely look at the book quite a bit when I use this deck because I find her books really good. So that is the Dreams of Gaia. It's a popular deck in our community. A lot of people like it, and I think it's definitely one of the most beautiful decks in my collection. And then, let's see. Don't know if this is the last deck. Oh no, it's not. And then the next deck I wanted to feature is the Fountain Tarot. This edition of the Fountain Tarot is the indie edition, but it's been picked up by a mass market publisher, so it's no longer independently published. These are all original oil paintings. I just think that this deck is so beautiful. It's a really wonderful reader. I love just looking at it, but I also love reading with it. I think the modern way that they depict many of the cards is fresh and interesting, and I really like that. You don't see it much anymore, because in our community, new decks are always coming out, and it seems in the last 5 years that the pace of new decks coming out has just been so breakneck that it's kind of like you can't slow down really. But I love this deck and I really appreciate it. I think it's definitely one of the most beautiful decks in my collection. That's a great High Priestess, in my opinion. Great Magician. Okay, that's the Fountain Tarot. This is, again, the indie version, but I think the mass market is almost identical. So, the next deck that I wanted to, I have 3 more. The next most beautiful deck is the Margaret Peterson, and this is a mass market deck. I just think these are also original pieces of art that she did over many years, and this deck really rewards study and really rewards getting to know it. These pictures, especially the quartz, really, they're so multi-layered. There's so much going on that still, even though I've had this deck for many years now, I notice new things when I read with this deck and when I use this deck. It is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful deck. This is trimmed. And the guidebook that she wrote that goes with this, I love this devil card. It's such a good devil card on so many levels. The guidebook that she wrote with this is so poetic. It really opens up the cards because she has the cards speaking in their own voice. And it's just so magical. yeah, like I said, there's a lot going on that sometimes you can't see when you first look at the card. At least my eyes take a little time to get to know what's going on. But really beautiful, beautiful deck. And I think, like I said, I think this took her decades to do the whole thing. Okay, so that is the Margaret Peterson. And then the next deck I wanted to share for beautiful decks is the Gaian Tarot. I keep my Gaian Tarot in this incense box, so it smells like incense now. What I really appreciate so much about this deck is that it's a modern interpretation of the cards. Like, this is the Ten of Swords, and yet for me as a reader, there's so much space and power in her depictions. It's modern and inclusive, but not so modern that it's going to be dated. And I absolutely love how the court cards have older people in them. That really speaks to me personally, and it really makes the cards a lot more powerful. I also appreciate how she used colored pencils for this entire deck, and that's my medium that I like to use, and her technique is just absolutely amazing. They look so realistic. I love this deck. I think it's beautiful. I trimmed it, and the world card is substantially smaller than the other cards. So that was a mistake on my trimming, but I still really love it. And I did lose some of the art as well when I trimmed it. But I just didn't think the borders really looked that good. I have heard that you can get a larger version from the author or an artist herself. Pamela Colbert, I think. And I think that has like not super glossy cardstock. So that was really good if you're interested in it. Because this is the Schiffer edition, and a lot of people really prefer the Llewellyn, but it's really hard to find now. Okay, that is the Gaian Tarot, and that is one of my most beautiful decks. The last deck I wanted to share is an oldie but a goodie, and that is this one. Oops, this one. The Shadowscapes Tarot by Stephanie Pui Mun Law. The reason I got this Czech edition is because it is slightly larger, and that's really everyone's complaint about the Shadowscapes, is it's just too small. The Llewellyn edition is just, yeah, it's too small. And this artwork is so intricate and so delicate that it really needs to be larger. I do think that getting a larger edition, which this one is, does make a difference. It's much easier for me to see what's going on, and there's a lot going on. Such a great reader, especially for when I read for other people. It's a deck that just kind of sings. It really sings, and I love all the animals, and I love all the plants and fairies, and the story that seems to be going on in these cards. And yeah, it's really a great deck. Really beautiful. You know, it's been out for a long time, and I think a lot of people, I don't know, they don't really talk about it anymore, but it's definitely still one of the most beautiful decks in my collection. Okay, so that's going to do it for me. This is a VR to my most beautiful decks, and I will talk to you again soon.